Good day, students. Our lesson for today is about the performance-based assessment or PBA. So how do we define the term? According to Conception 2012, it is defined as a direct and systematic observation of the actual performance of the students based on the predetermined performance criteria. Gabuyo 2011 listed three forms of performance-based assessment. Number 1 is extended response task. Number 2 is restricted response task. And number 3 is student portfolio. So firstly is the extended response task. In this form, activities for a single assessment may be multiple and varied, and activities may be extended for over some time. And lastly, products from different students may be different in focus. And the second one is the restricted response task, which in these forms, intended performances are narrowly defined than on the extended response task. In this form, questions may begin with multiple choice or short answer stem, but then ask for an explanation or justification, and may have introductory material like an interpretative exercise, but then ask for an explanation for the answer, not just the answer itself. And lastly is the student portfolio. So it is a purposeful collection of student works that exhibits a student's efforts, progress, and achievements in one or more areas.
Performance-based assessment is used in assessing the complex cognitive outcomes such as analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, assessing non-writing performances and products, and must carefully specify the learning outcomes and construct activities or tasks that called forth.
At this moment, let us talk about the focus of performance-based assessment as defined by Gabuyo 2011. So performance-based assessment can assess the process, the product, or both the process and product depending on the learning outcomes. So it also involves doing rather than knowing about the activity or task. The teacher will assess the effectiveness of the process or procedures and the product used in carrying out the instruction. So the question now is when to use the process or the product. So we will use the process when number 1, there is no product. Number 2, the process is orderly and directly observable. And number 3, correct procedure or steps are crucial to later success. Number 4, analysis of procedural steps can help in improving the product. And lastly is the learning at an early stage. And use the product when number 1, different procedures result in an equally good product. Number 2, procedures are not available for observation. Number 3, the procedures have been mastered already. And lastly is that the products have qualities that can be identified and judged. Gabuyo 2012 suggested some approaches in performance-based assessment or PBA. These are the checklist approach, narrative or anecdotal approach, rating scale approach, and lastly is the memory approach. So number 1 is the checklist approach. What is the checklist approach? According to him, it is an observation instrument that divides performances, whether it is certain or not specific. So in this manner, the teacher has to indicate only whether or not certain elements are present in the performances. Number 2 is the narrative or anecdotal approach. In this approach, it is a continuous description of student behavior as it occurs, recorded without judgment or interpretation. In this manner, the teacher will write narrative reports of what was done during each of the performances. And from these reports, teachers can determine how well their students have met their standards. And let's proceed with the rating scale approach. It is a checklist that allows the evaluator to record information on a scale, noting a more exceptional distribution than just presence or absence of behavior. So the teacher, they indicate to what degree the standards were met. So usually the teacher will use a numerical scale. And lastly is the memory approach. This is an approach that the teachers use when it observes the students performing the task without taking any notes. So they use the information from their memory to determine whether or not the students were successful.